this is dead air now because we're in a commercial break, so we have to actually talk a little bit now. Did you drink?
Let me give it a hot tour.
Okay. All right, thank you so much for tuning into the Be Better Voice. This is going to be the election debate for presidential election, and we're going to be covering it today. So, you got Drew here, my co-host. We got Chris, the other co-host. And we got David here just to hang out. So, how do you think tonight's going to go?
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a decent back and forth in the beginning, but I think towards the middle there's going to be a lot of jawing, possibly. Depending if I'm falling asleep or not, we don't know. But
What do you think?
it'll be interesting tonight.
I think it's going to surprise us all. I really do.
It honestly just depends on how CNN's going to.
Don't ask me to elaborate.
It just depends on what CNN's going to do, especially with the 2-minute delay they announced earlier today. And
Who's done the debates in the past? These broadcasts.
oh man, everyone, yeah, plenty of people like
This is the
Fox.
first time CNN's doing this?
No, it's not the first time. They're just the first ones for this year's lineup. Basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're the first ones to do it.
Yeah, so the debates are going to go on until September, correct?
Something like that, yeah.
For closing statements. There is no studio.
I'm a little surprised that I didn't think the debates were going to happen this year, actually, with all the craziness going back and forth. What do you think, David?
I think there's a lot of haters on both sides, and this is gonna be a great battle.
I like it.
I'm just hoping it's not over.
Well, I see a lot of Joe Biden everywhere, so
Let's go, Brandon.
yeah, Matthew,
Oh, there he is.
Joseph himself.
Wakey, wakey. Oh, look at the mice.
It looks like he's gonna
Please
die.
welcome the 45th president.
I'm going to turn this up a little bit, guys.
Donald Trump.
This happened 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago.
Keep an eye on Joe Biden's eyes, by the way.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden.
I want to hear about Jake Tapper more.
But prices remain high.
We weren't able
Since
to
you took
beforehand.
office, the price of essentials has increased.
No.
For example, a basket of groceries.
I told you to take the headphones off.
Then
I can hear.
Now costs.
Yeah, but we're only talking. Can you hear right now when I'm talking?
And
And you can hear him what he's saying. What's he saying right now? When you keep talking, and I want you to keep saying what he's saying right now. No, I'm literally going to talk the way we're talking. I'm proving a point.
Joe,
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president.
We can't even hear him.
We had an economy.
They can barely hear him.
He looks
The
horrible.
pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying.
Look at
All
Trump's
they said
face.
was it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. It'll be all right.
I am in
Economy
disbelief
collapsed.
right now. He
There were
looks
no
horrible.
jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do.
Trump looks like a statue.
15,000
Oh, you can tell he
jobs.
has something
We
planned.
brought out
He's
position.
prepared.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying it in a bad way. Just the stance he's doing. He's
There's
just.
more to be done. There's more to be
He's
done.
getting ready.
Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of households where the kitchen tables and things weren't able to be met during the month. It was a problem.
He's so
The
quiet.
price
Dude.
of eggs, the price of gas, the price
kinda
of
feel
housing,
sorry
the price
for
of a
him
whole
right
range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal
What
with
time?
those
What time does this go
problems. And
to?
we're going to make sure we reduce the
about
price of
I thought
housing.
so.
We're going to make sure
It might
we
end
build
sooner.
Yeah.
2 million new units.
Well,
And make sure we
by the
cap
way he's
rents
looking,
so
he's-
corporate greed can't take over. The
What were you saying before about the?
corporate greed is the reason
Look
why
at his eyes.
No, what were you saying before
In
about the
addition to
doctor?
that, we're in a situation where
So the
if you
doctors
have to look
basically,
at all that was done
they're not
in
even allowed to be
administration,
in the same area
Didn't
with
do
them
much
right
at
now,
all.
which is quite
By the
shocking.
time
The White
we
House
got
was
to
freaking out
things
about that
were in
today. So
It was literally chaos.
the presidential
And
doctors
so
have
we put
always
things
are
back
with the
together, we
president at all
created, I
times.
said,
Why are
those
they not allowed
jobs,
to
we
be?
make sure
I
we
have
have
no
a
idea.
situation
to be
where
honest.
do you
we
think we
now,
should be?
we brought down the price of prescription
Like
drugs.
what? Like, wow, this is sad.
$15 for a insulin shot.
It's probably a good thing you're wearing headphones because you can tell if it's bad or good.
$15. Hold on, man. You just said $50 for insulin.
No, I'm saying a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm saying if it's actually something's wrong, you can tell.
And the situation is making, and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you, President Trump.
How?
We're the greatest economy in the history of our country, and we have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in the Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929.
I think you need to liven up.
By
It's
the
still
time
pretty
we
early.
finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country.
As I said,
Other
like I said,
than that, we had given them back
they both got to
country
liven up.
where
I'm just saying, you got to liven up.
actually was higher
But
than
I'm sure
COVID, and
They'll
nobody
get
thought that
heated
was
up a
even
little bit here, a
possible.
little bit.
The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, that bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he's the greatest economy.
Look at polls.
And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant, and the military.
They keep talking about the job loss because of COVID.
Exactly. He's construing what happened with COVID, and he's using it to his advantage.
Yeah. Well, it's because the stats dropped because everyone was working. The economy crashed.
Not to mention he forced everyone out who didn't get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Huh?
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can. Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to
Wasn't it China and Germany? Last time you went after Germany like crazy, too.
Yeah. Tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as
2 minutes per question?
Afghanistan is concerned,
2 minutes
I was
per
getting
question.
out of Afghanistan. We're getting out with dignity.
Waiting to
with
see which
strength,
one goes over
with
first.
power.
Think it's
He
gonna be
got
Trump,
out.
but-
It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
They got a lot. He's
President Trump,
got to
over
lighten
the
up, though.
last
We got to
8
lighten up.
years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt. Well, so far, President Biden, you've approved
So, David, how's
$4.3
welding
trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and
David's like, why did I come
corporations
here
pay
tonight?
even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much
Yeah,
better
COVID
than just
threw it all
about any other country.
That was a good
But
response,
we
though.
spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas.
The one thing,
right
though, I
under
got
our
to
feet.
say,
we were going
that
to
I
have
didn't like about
something that
Trump
nobody else
is the
has
amount of
had.
money he
We
spent
got
during
hit
his
with
term.
COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him.
He spent a-
Well, are you
unbelievable
including the
situation
COVID money
with
or
all
no?
of the
I don't even know if that's including COVID money. I just know he spent more money than.
Well, that's
We
what
gave
Joe
him
Biden and his
something great.
campaign's
Remember,
doing. They're accusing
more
him of spending the
people
most of
died
any other president
under his
because of
administration,
what happened with COVID.
even though
Because
we
of the
had
true
largely fixed
the
it.
true
More
$2
people
trillion
died under his
they minted
administration
for the
than
stimulus
our
checks
administration,
and all the
we
other
were right
like
in
the
middle
PPE
of it.
loans and all that
Something
stuff.
which a lot of people don't like to
You
talk
said they
about.
minted?
But he had
Yes.
far more
Can
people
you hear, Drew?
dying in his
Okay.
administration.
Yeah, they meant
He
it.
did the mandate, which is a
$2 trillion.
disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine,
No,
which
they
is
just
the
print them
thing
on.
that people most objected to about the
Thin Air.
vaccine. And he did a very poor job.
You
Just
wonder
a
why
very
our
poor
economy's messed
job.
up.
And I will tell you, not
This was
only
under
who are
Trump
there,
or
but
Biden?
throughout the entire
Under
world,
Trump.
we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent.
He's trying to liven up
all
now.
of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation.
Absolutely.
And it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question.
Trump's
about
playing
the
their game. I
national
feel
debt.
like though, like
He had the largest national debt.
he's not gonna fold the way they want him to, the way they have it
He
pushed
got
against
$2
him.
trillion
Anyway.
tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
He's just repeating the
What's
bus
that?
phrases.
They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to support.
I think
support
Trump
our
needs to
healthcare
look at
system,
him while he's
making
talking.
sure that we're able to
I don't know
make
if it's just
every
me.
single
He's
solitary person
approaching this differently than most.
I think anyone's expecting right now.
Joe's not looking at him.
Well, he's talking right now.
Excuse me,
He
with
wasn't looking at
Oh, I
him.
know. I'm just saying.
everything we have to do with.
What? No, not out of respect. Just like
Look,
to seem engaged.
Oh,
if
Well, yeah.
we
Hold on,
finally
hold on.
beat Medicare,
Thank you, President Biden.
Medic-
President Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicaid. He beat it to death, and he's destroying all of these
Zinger.
people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly.
if they don't do something about
destroy
Social Security, by the way, by
There's
2033, they have to
millions
cut
of people coming in.
26%.
They're
Hold on
trying
one
to
sec.
put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4
Look at Biden.
years is not to be believed.
looks so poor
Foreign
right now.
countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana.
This is
You
the
said,
first
did you know what?
presidential election
I'm sorry.
since
You were saying,
the
did you
Supreme
know?
Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
You were saying something
This
before.
morning,
Oh, about Social Security. So basically, if the government doesn't do anything about Social Security and the reckless spending with our economy, they're going to have to cut. I think it's. Quote me if I'm wrong. It's 26%. They're going to have to slash Social Security by 2033. If nothing's solved.
which returned the issue of
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know
states.
the in-depth.
However,
I'm basically
the
off
federal government still
facts.
plays
Stories
a
of
role
people
in
who are
whether
gonna
or
get
not
cut off
women
that
have
actually need it.
access
Well, let's be
to
honest. We've known for
abortion
the past
pills.
decade.
Wait, hold on.
They're
How many-
used in about 2/3 of
So
all
they're
abortions.
talking about abortion.
As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade
What
and
was her name
moving it
again?
back to the states.
Who
This
is
something
the,
that everybody wanted.
Person he brought in,
Now,
Amy.
10 years
what
ago,
was her name?
we
Amy Coney
started
Barrett.
talking
Yeah.
about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every
Who
legal
else did he bring in
scholar
again? It was Amy Coney Barrett.
throughout
Who
the
else?
world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same
What does he
thing.
mean by that?
Texas is different.
We
Florida is
with the
different. But they're all
abortion because it
making
was
their own
so it's
decisions
not
right
federally
now. And right now,
federally
the states control it.
decided
That's
now. It's
the
a
vote
state
of the
decided.
people.
That was what.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Ronald
Ohio
Reagan,
did
I
it 2
believe
years
in
ago.
the
Yeah,
exceptions.
so
I
with that,
am a
though,
person that believes.
He's
And
saying that
frankly, I
he would have
think
thought
it's
Ohio
important
would
to
have
believe in the
gone
exceptions.
against
Some people,
abortion,
you have to follow your heart.
but it
Some
ended up
people
going
don't
with
believe in
abortion
that.
for the
But I
state.
believe
The
in the
state constitution.
exceptions for rape, incest, and the
In
life
Ohio,
of the
Roe v.
mother.
Wade
I
was
think it's very
overturned,
important.
meaning
No,
people don't
but
follow
Roe
the
v.
heart,
Wade was
but
overturned
you have to
federally.
get
That
elected
means the
also,
whole United
and
States.
because that
It
has
got
to do
put
with
down
other
into
things. You gotta
each
get
individual
elected.
state for their.
Which a
to
lot
get
of people
votes.
misconstrued all the time.
Because
All
they will
that happened was
take
they're
the
letting
life
the
of the
states
child
decide
in the 8th
whether
month
Instead of
of
making it
abortion,
federally,
even after
so it's
birth.
not
After
the
birth.
whole
If you look
nation
at
now.
the
It's
former
just based in
governor
the
of
state.
Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, "We'll put the baby aside.
How
and
long
we'll
was Roe v.
determine
Wade
what we do with the baby?" Meaning, we'll kill the baby.
part of the Constitution?
What happened is,
Well, it was never part of the
Well,
Constitution.
they're
like you said, 51 years.
Together on this
51,
issue.
yeah.
It's been a great thing.
you know what I meant.
Yes,
I know it's not part
No,
of
you're
the
good.
What you've done. The fact is,
Federal-
that
Whoa! What did you just say?
Supported Roe when it
He
was
said you're
started.
done.
Supported Roe.
It's a terrible thing.
That's this
Oh,
idea.
get closer.
Oh, I thought you said you're done. I'm like,
And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it.
Talking to the
Yes,
microphone
they-
closer if you're talking.
In 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot.
You
see
don't have to
a
hold up.
doctor
I'm just saying if you talk,
and
just
have
hold up
him
your mouth.
decide on what your
She said.
circumstances are when you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights by the United States. Let each state have a different rule.
Based on body language.
Hey, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good debate. I want to see how it
I've seen
goes.
him stare at Trump this whole time until he said that.
And he
That was the
went to
first
the
thing he was
funeral.
intimidated.
The idea that she was murdered by.
Yeah, I love that this is the first podcast he came on.
Coming in.
He seems very left-sided.
Here's the thing. By their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state line.
Thank you.
Murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Considered the most dangerous place
They're
anywhere
doing
in the world.
two commercial
And
breaks.
he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country.
Yeah, not right now.
And they are
But
raping
yeah, I
and
know. It's
killing
two
women.
commercial breaks for.
And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back
We're
with
gonna
the
be a long
states. The
commercial
states
break,
are
I'll tell you
voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal
he looks
decision.
sick.
In many cases, it's the opposite.
It's
But
sad,
they're voting,
honestly.
and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted,
Yep.
including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it
What
that
is he
way.
referring to?
Roe v.
Staying
Wade.
on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that.
Because
he likes to
This
do
is
that.
the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions
Honestly, I
on
was
how
paying
far
attention
into
enough
a
to know.
pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion.
You couldn't hear me, could you?
Do you support
I said
any
I honestly
legal
wasn't paying
limits on
enough
how
attention to
late a
know how I
woman
made the
should be able
connection.
to terminate pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones
That's the
making
one thing I
decisions
think
about
the
women's health
Democrats have
is
over
ridiculous.
the
It's
Republicans.
last. No politician should be
It's
making that
ridiculous.
decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what
You would be
supposed
in
to do.
jail for
And if I'm
treason
elected, I'm going
if
to
they're
restore
alive.
Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia,
Not true. What are you
put the
talking
baby
about?
down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month
Chris,
and
can you
kill
look
the
up
baby.
what states have that?
Nobody wants that to happen.
For after birth?
Democrat or
Yeah.
Republican. Nobody
Or
wants
up to
that.
after birth, I don't think that's
after
right.
9 months or up to 9 months.
Simply not true.
Oh, up to 9 months?
Up to 9
New
months.
York and California.
That's just 2?
That's not the
That I know.
circumstance.
Bubblegum.
Only woman's life is in danger. She's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We
So,
don't think that's a good thing.
did you know this,
We think
David,
it's a
though?
radical
So
thing.
you,
We
with,
think the Democrats are the radicals.
some states,
not the
though,
Republicans.
if
For
the baby
51 years,
survives
that was
after birth, they can still
51
kill it.
years,
It's considered an abortion if it's
Constitution said
after
it was the right way to go.
birth. Like,
51
it's
years,
actually
and it was
out
taken
in
away
the world,
because
out
this guy
of the womb.
was very
They
conservative
can
and
say
that was on the Supreme
it's
Court.
still considered
Takes
abortion,
credit
even
for
though
taking it
it's
away.
born.
What's he
They
gonna
have
do?
they have the
What's he
right
gonna
to
do?
actually
The
kill
fact
it still
So
outside of the womb.
so they
The
have
MAGA
to
Republicans,
determine that
he gets
before the
elected,
baby
and the MAGA
comes
Republicans
into
control the
world.
Congress, and they pass a
I don't
universal
know.
ban
I don't know.
on
That's-
abortion,
I
period,
think that's-
across the
there's no
board,
debate
at
with
6
that.
weeks or
It's-
7
What was your
weeks or
question?
10 weeks, something very, very
Does that have to
conservative.
be
Is he going
predetermined
to sign that
before
bill?
the baby
I'll
leaves
veto
the
it.
mother's
He'll
womb?
sign it.
I would imagine. I don't know. I don't think that it's going to happen after the fact. If they're, you know what I mean? I think
Migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given
I'm going to have to take a deeper dive on that because it's not giving me.
I'm looking it up there.
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement. That not
All
only
right, what are we talking
changed all
about?
that,
Sorry.
it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstances.
It's Alaska, Colorado, District of Columbia, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, and Vermont. That's what it says on here, at least. That's what I'm saying. But you would think,
Well, throw New York and California in there too.
yeah, I would imagine.
We found ourselves in a situation where, when he was president, he was separating babies from their
You'd have to go
in
post
cages,
low.
making sure
Post
that
low.
the families were separated.
He's talking about separating families, even though how many people did Barack Obama have?
Plenty.
A lot more than
Put 'em in
Trump.
cages.
Yeah, the photos that they shared was actually from Barack Obama's.
Yeah, how about the runaways, getaways, and the kids that went missing?
Continue to move until we get the total ban.
During Obama's term?
Obama's term, man.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look,
I wish they had no idea.
let's leave our country.
They cut it out. They cut it out.
Yep.
He decided to open up our border.
Hence the 1
open
2
up
minute
our
delay.
country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now. All terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere.
Chinese
all over the world,
nationals.
they're pouring in.
That began caught in
This guy
nonstop this year.
just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who was great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, he endorsed me for president.
But I won't say that.
Just to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming.
What is the estimate of illegal immigrants?
President Biden?
Oh,
It's over 10 mil, isn't it?
Done anything across the
I don't think it's that high. I think it's between 5 and 8. 5 and 8. I don't think it's.
No, it's documented 5 to 8. But it's over. The Border Patrol says it might be up to
Oh, yeah,
13.
probably, yeah.
That's what Border. It was on Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
They talked about it being over, maybe more than that.
That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's
Because some of the State Departments aren't even reporting the
President
data.
That's what I was
Trump,
talking about. That's
Yeah,
exactly what
they're
I'm
not
talking about.
reporting it.
You've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest
Connected to the 9/11
terrorists
attacks.
anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad border, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it.
There was an
that
immigrant
these
in New
3
York
incredible
recently.
young
He just
girls
got
over
tried
the
for
last
killing
few
2 New
days.
York cops. You know what he
One
told
of
the
them I
judge?
just spoke to the
It's in his
mother.
culture to
And
kill police
He just
officers.
had the funeral for this.
Who is this?
It was an illegal immigrant in New York that killed
horrible
2
what's taken
NYPD
place.
officers.
What's taken place in our country,
Venezuela.
we're literally,
Which a lot of
Venezuela,
Venezuela.
a lot of
Venezuela.
he doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved.
I'll be right
Choice
back, guys.
that I got through Congress.
Give me 2 seconds.
All of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by
Thank you,
allowing
President Trump.
all of these people to come in.
President
And it's a
Biden.
very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every
Well,
single
they
thing
didn't
he
come
said
up.
is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have.
Why don't you talk about the veterans you forced out of the
Their
military
families
because
have
you were trying to
because what
force a
happened,
vaccine on them?
whether it was Agent Orange or
They won't
burn
talk about
pits,
that.
they're all being covered now.
Said Agent
And he
Orange.
opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in
Oh,
a
from
situation
Vietnam.
where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, he was not a sucker. You're the sucker, you're the loser.
President Trump.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up.
You think our
And he
current
brought it
sitting
up.
president is fit for office?
There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. I think that I would
Just
from
from-
generals.
yeah, from what you're saying right now, do you think he's
suckers
fit
and
for
losers. We
office?
have 19
He
people
can't handle
that
the debate.
said
How can he
it
handle
was
the
never
country?
said by me.
Yeah.
It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up,
Does he look ill?
just like the new thing
He
with the
does.
16 economists are talking. It's the
He
same
looks
thing.
confused.
51 intelligence agents said
This is the
that
best
the
Democrat party
laptop
has the
was
problem.
Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up
Oh, here
the
we
suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two,
He said, she said.
the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. American history. And then
Bullshit.
now are their
Yeah, how many leave in Afghan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dave, let's go.
Yeah.
Ask him next time he's on.
And their families and equip them when they go.
We literally had a veteran on that was
That's what we're doing.
overseas.
Exactly.
That's what
We literally
we're
had a
doing.
veteran on overseas
We're doing
that he's
more for
talking about
veterans
right
than
now. That said
before in our history.
how they literally left
Thank you
troops
so much.
overseas during and left them in terrorist a terrorist.
war
Yeah.
against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war
I'm very impressed
if
with
Russia
CNN right
keeps
now.
the Ukrainian
Brilliant.
territory
For
it's
now.
already
I think it's
claimed,
just so.
and Ukraine abandons
I
its
think
bid
they were.
to
I
join
don't,
NATO.
I don't think they're expecting Trump to be what he's doing right now. So
Yeah,
I think
they shot themselves in the foot.
Veterans
I think that's what
and our
happened.
soldiers
Yep.
can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he can use that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single as far as Russia and Ukraine. If we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so
poking
bad
bear.
with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. That when
He always says
Putin
that. I
watched
love it.
that,
Like,
and he
in
saw
the history of our
comments that
country.
he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind.
Yep, I forgot
When
about
Putin
that.
saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was
disagree with that a
broke
little
with
bit.
me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that area. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Ukraine,
Let's
Trump,
hear it.
do whatever you want, do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. Listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to
Trump's
take
face.
Kyiv
It's
in 5
a
days,
typical
remember?
Trump.
He's going to bring up Hunter right now, I guarantee
That's
you.
what he wanted
Trump's
to reestablish. Kyiv.
Put money on
And
it.
he, in fact,
$10
didn't
bucks?
do it at all. He didn't. What
$10
he
bucks right
had
now.
Done. And they
Done.
lost
Done.
they've lost
I'll do that.
thousands and thousands of troops. 500,000
Done.
troops.
I have no idea.
President Trump,
I
I'm
never
gonna come back
said
to you
that.
For 1 minute. I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine.
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to
175
Ukraine.
billion.
He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office
I
in
knew it.
January
Yeah,
20th.
exactly.
I'll
Dr.
have that
Phil
war
too.
settled. People
Why does he
being
look like he's
killed so
pooping?
needlessly, so stupidly.
It's because he's sick.
And
Look at
I
it.
will
I
get
clearly
myself
had-
It does not look good.
fast before
Like, I
take
actually feel bad.
office.
I do too. And
Biden, you have a
honestly,
minute.
But
by the looks of
but-
him,
The fact
Sorry.
is that
There you go.
Putin is a war criminal. He's killed
I don't
thousands
mean
and
to
thousands.
keep
no, there you go. No,
And
but
he has
doesn't it look like he has
been
dementia?
clear.
Seriously,
He
have you guys
wants
met
to
people with dementia?
reestablish
Yes, you know
what it looks like.
If you know my, I'll
not
talk.
just
I'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
all of Ukraine. That's
My-
what he
my
wants.
former profession.
And then you think he'll stop there?
I-
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
think
yeah.
he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries?
You're
And
going to
so
get
if you want a
exposed
war,
with your son's
you ought to
fraud.
Find out what he's
That's
gonna
what
do,
you're worried
because
about, buddy.
If in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine, we make here in the United States, we give not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have.
David, what's
That's
NATO
why
stand
it's-
for?
That's why we're strong.
National.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas
What is it,
attacked
Chris?
Israel,
What's
killing
NATO
more
stand
than
for? Do you even
1,000
know?
people and taking hundreds
National
of hostages.
Atlantic
Among those
Treaty
held and
Organization.
thought
I
to
know,
still be
so.
alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of
Which, by the way, we
Palestinians,
promised
created a
Russia back in the day that we
humanitarian
wouldn't
crisis in
keep
Gaza.
moving territory,
President
inching
Biden,
towards them. We lied to them.
You've put forward
So-
a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in
They're
Gaza.
probably not allowed.
North
So
Atlantic
what
Treaty
additional
Organization.
leverage
North
would you
Atlantic.
use
Okay, thank
to
you.
get Hamas and Israel
That's kinda right.
to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages.
Hold
Does it look like he's reading off the
ceasefire.
Hold on.
Second phase is
He
a
says 3
ceasefire with
stages.
additional
and then he
conditions.
starts with
The
the
third
4th
phase
stage.
is
Did you just hear
no,
that?
the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown kind of enlisted ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone.
No, you didn't.
And so they're two different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated.
Yeah,
but
because
you've got
of the
to
famine.
be careful for what using certain
Innocent people are going to die
allow
over there
population
instead.
centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all, you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. There may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. Let's just see what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem
I'm
we
interested
have
in that response.
is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were ripping our cars. No, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia, at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021.
There we
After
go.
you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president,
I want to see how he
you
responds.
swore
I'm
an
so.
oath to, quote, preserve,
This is a
protect,
big question.
and
This is a
defend,
big question.
unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this
What a good way to
leadership
respond.
is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm
You know,
sure
that was
someone will be
that was so
talking about.
planned. I was
When
going
he
to
goes
say
after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds.
If he would have played into it, it would have been.
Oh, yeah.
They would have started nitpicking.
Voters who believe that you violated
January
your
6th.
constitutional oath through your
How would
actions
he
and
play
actions
into
on
it?
January
Hold on.
2021 and worry that you'll do it again.
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically.
They're trying to
And
pull back
Nancy
into it.
Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, like they say. But she said,
They say.
"Oh no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this," because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down. The mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see. I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel
9:41.
it.
I'm surprised they haven't
And
gone
I
to the
said,
first commercial
"You ought
break
to
yet.
have some National Guard or whatever." And I offered it to her, and she now admits that she turned it down.
They might cut it
And
early
it was
then.
the
Maybe
same
they'll cut it
day
at the
she
hour.
was- I don't know. You can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her
might.
into a liar. She said, "I take full responsibility for January 6th."
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up to the Capitol Hill, number one.
What?
That is a
I
lot.
sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged.
Did you
by
know
his vice
before
president
they even got to the
and his
Capitol, he
colleagues,
said at the
Republicans
rally, he
tried
said
to do
peacefully
something, call
protest.
for
Yes,
stop,
peacefully
to end
protest.
it. Instead, he talked.
And he tweeted it, too,
Being
beforehand.
patriots
They said he
and
waited a few
patriots
hours,
of
though,
America.
to
In
respond
fact,
to the.
He says he'll now forgive
Because he
them
said
for
it in
what they've
person.
done.
Well, I know he did, but
Yeah,
it took a few
convicted.
hours for him to
He says
respond.
he wants
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Well, yeah, well, who knows? He could have been being briefed, like, hey, what do you want to
He
do? All
went to
this
every
stuff.
single
No,
court
no.
in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out, and now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down
Chad.
many other cities.
Chaz in
You go to
Seattle.
Chaz,
Minnesota,
that's what it was, yeah.
Minneapolis. What they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said,
My wife's taking the beer run.
this
just so
whole
you know.
subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the unselected
Trying to be in the same
committee,
mental
which is
status as Biden, so I
basically
understand
two
it.
horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right.
What was
And
this
they
for?
deleted and destroyed all of the information. They
the
should go
January
to
6th.
jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to
Thank
jail.
you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon, is the man.
There it is.
Right
Yeah.
now. And the fact of the
He's
matter
like,
is,
okay, here we go.
He is
Oh,
what
you
he's telling
expected
is
those.
simply not true.
So, David, what do you know about
The
his
fact
conviction?
is that
Do you know anything
there
about
was
Trump
no
being
effort
convicted?
on his part
Something
to
with
stop what was going on
money and
with
taxes.
Capitol Hill. And all those people, every
Was
one
it,
of them were convicted.
no,
It was,
it's-
hush
They
money
were
payments.
deaths.
Yeah, with Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea.
And they
that
were.
those people are
She literally
patriots.
admitted that
Come on.
he never paid.
Well, the stuff they allowed in the
Right.
trial, the stuff they allowed in the trial,
Oh, it was absurd.
it was
I
absurd.
said,
That judge was so
"Deny
much.
So,
the Proud Boy." He
In the
said, "No, I'm
trial,
talking
you
to
can only
stand
talk about
by."
certain things.
The idea
and
is refusing to
It had
publicly
the thing that they
denounce
talked about in the
these
trial
guys,
had nothing to
denounce
do
the people we're talking
with the
about,
trial. They just
to
gave a lot
denounce
of
the people who attack
opinions
that.
about Trump to help build
What
up
are
a
you gonna
case
do?
against him.
Yeah.
So, like, they were saying a lot of sexual stuff that he did, and like really, really bad things. Even if I don't, I guess I don't know.
Convicted you of 34 felonies
just-
last month. You said if
here we
reelected,
go.
you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on
Big
stage
question.
with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful.
He did say that
again,
with
'cause right now it's a
Dr.
failing
Phil.
nation.
I remember him saying
My
that. That would be the
retribution's going to be success.
way
But when he
to
talks about a convicted
show
felon,
that
his son's
all the
a
Democrats
convicted
and everything
felon.
like that is saying,
And
if I'm
his
successful,
son is
malice,
convicted,
it's
gonna be
out of
convicted probably numerous
success.
other times. Should have
Yeah.
been convicted before, but his Justice Department let
It's
the
just
statute of
corruption.
limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion, you can change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo.
Yep.
That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you talk about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong.
You're doing
No
it with the
president's
January
ever spoken
6th,
like that before.
folks.
No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three,
Drew, I think Jordan's
the
taking your car.
crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil
He's taking your car, I think, to
How many
Exxon.
billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties?
Is that okay with you?
For molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that. That's because your truck's in the way.
Oh, yeah.
While your wife was
Sorry.
pregnant.
License plate number. I'm just
What
kidding.
They should
You
do
really have the morals of an alley cat.
Do you have that, sir?
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ.
They're trying to put, I feel like
Manhattan
this is
DA's
a gag order
office
right
to
now. I
start
can't
that
talk about
case.
this. Is
That
this part,
case is going to be
the gag order has to do with
won.
Stormy Daniels or no?
We had a very
No, it had to do with
terrible
him
judge,
talking bad about
horrible
the
judge,
judge.
Democrat.
And
The
they were worried about
prosecutor
witness
were all
temptation
high-ranking
shit like that.
Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases,
Do you
know
think
what they
this
did?
conversation
My
will
phone
talk about
numbers went
benefits
up
to the
way
American
up. You
public
know
at
that
all?
because you're reporting it.
No,
And
you
we
anyone
talked
check
more
about
money in
Trump's
the last
personal
2
life?
weeks than we've
He's not
ever
talking
taken
about
in the
marrying
history
American
of
feds
any
saying-
campaign. I don't know any campaign.
It just- Yeah.
Hundreds of
What does that have
millions
to do
of
with
dollars
making
came
America
pouring in
better?
Because he
because
has
the
no better
public knows
defense.
it's a scam.
Well, because if he had to go on his record, if he had to go on his record, if Biden had to go on his record and show his
Thank you,
record,
President Trump.
you know,
President
it's not
Biden,
going to be
you
anything
have
good.
said, quote,
Donald
Wait, hold on.
Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be
78
voting
million
against
and probably
American
more.
democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues.
I like how
But you're
Jordan,
talking
I
about
don't
Trump
like to
seeking
do
retribution.
But I do know he has a real problem.
I love how Jordan just took your car. She would tell
Do you ever think you heard any president
I'm sure.
say
I know it's
that
fine.
I'm
But it's
gonna
just funny
seek
to me.
retribution? You ever hear any presidents say that they thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and seeing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang.
Now they're going to try to correlate them with the
back in
Nazis,
Germany.
which is not going to work.
And the young woman got killed.
He's doing the same thing. I'm thinking the same thing you are right now.
What do you think of those people? The people who the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides.
It's been proven a
What
lie. It's been fact checked
American
too.
president
So you're lying.
Whatever say.
Full of it.
Nazis coming
What
out
was
of
the fact
fields
check?
carrying
It was a couple weeks ago.
singing,
What
They
was
finally,
it?
basically saying that
carrying
Trump
swastikas.
never said these
Fine
the white
people.
supremacists in
This is
Charlottesville
the
were
guy who
fine
says
people.
Hitler's done some good
They just
things.
proved that.
I'd like to know what they
false.
are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has
Really?
no sense of American
Why
democracy.
don't you prove that, buddy?
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate we're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question
Worse than
the
Carter.
worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our
And
country.
I don't
We
think he's
should be
lying
having
with
a
that statement.
debate
It's not
about
just
this.
Trump being Trump right there.
Yeah, he's
He
being
made up
serious.
the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully
excluding
debunked.
Jake Tapper.
It's a nonsense
Every
story.
reasonable,
He knows that, and
institution
he didn't run because of
of,
Charlottesville. He
media.
used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunk. It happened. All you have to do is
It's
listen
been
to what he said
debunked.
at
You're
the time.
wrong.
And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was
And
worried
this is
that
the
I
current
this guy could
president
get
of the
elected.
United
He
States.
thought
This
they
is
were good people
unbelievable.
coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches.
Dave's
And he
like,
did
I don't
this.
know.
David's like, what am I doing here right now?
And the idea.
I'm getting more beer
he's
for us.
talking
Drink a beer.
about
Get a beer.
all this being
I
fabricated.
got work tomorrow.
We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened.
It's
in
not that
January.
late.
We saw the people breaking.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, we all got work tomorrow.
His own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers
It's on.
refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're
Mike
going to be
Pence
right
is a
back
coward.
with more from the CNN presidential debate.
First.
Wow. They let it go for 51 minutes straight.
That's pretty crazy. That's what I meant to look up.
Wow. But again, like I said, that second part of the debate just now, what does that have to do with helping modern day Americans?
What are you referring to?
Like the economy. Like how's it going to help the economy? Like stuff that actually matters. That's my point. They should be debating
Oh,
stuff
but-
that
but
actually
then
matters,
just-
not over criminal history between
Yeah,
both.
you're talking about them just gaslighting Trump.
gaslighting each other.
Well, it's coming.
Well, it's
Biden.
mainly coming from Biden. I agree,
Yeah.
and Trump
No,
keep his
Because he
composure.
doesn't have any other better defense mechanism than to just.
Well, yeah, you can't talk about his accomplishments. What does Joe Biden accomplish?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Dave, what do you think?
About what? Which part?
All of it.
Well, I think Biden probably has some really chapped lips because he does not shut his mouth, first of all. And
How do you feel about Trump's facial expression so far? Since that you're giving me the input about.
I mean, they're pretty. I don't know. They're good.
So, how do you feel about the debate? Like, they're both going to bring a lot, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
I see. I feel like Vagina.
Vaginan.
Yeah, Biden. He's a little bit more childish for his age.
And
It seems like
I've been
it
keeping
seems
tabs.
What do you mean by like an infant state of mind? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, like
Like a child.
he responds like, yeah, for how old he is.
You're evil.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
come on, man. How many times have you seen Trump tonight, like, lash out at Biden?
No, I think, but they both are being very cordial.
But Trump hasn't initiated, like, any, like, little badgering back talk.
Yeah. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut you
I'm
down.
saying
man.
my point is,
Wait,
like,
so what happened?
It's not trying to. I think like Trump obviously says stuff though.
What-
Like
I mean, I'm sure I know what you.
what did he say before? He said what was the zinger he had? We talked about the zingers. He
Oh,
does
yeah.
have zingers. I'm not saying he doesn't.
Probably, yeah.
well, he was
When
defending
everyone
himself.
stormed the White
Yeah.
My point is, has he vocalized an
yeah,
attack
about
Biden
the
for his
riots
cognitive
Yeah, and it's-
impairness or
apparently
any
Trump-
such like
Trump
that,
gets
or-
the blame for that.
Hold on, we're having two. It's only you picked up the mic, so I want to make sure all.
Yep. Oh, go on. Go on, because I'm rambling.
I was trying to. He's asking
I was
about
confused on
January
what
6th.
they were talking about January 6th, but now I.
So you don't know about January 6th?
Well, now I mean, I remembered.
Yeah, you remember hearing about it?
Yeah,
The insurrection.
but I didn't dig into whose fault it was. But
Who do you think was at fault for January 6th?
I
In
don't
your
even know. I
I don't think Dave's gonna have enough to know. He's not gonna have enough to know.
People that decided to go into the.
All right? Do you think there's anything wrong with January 6th?
Yes, the handling of why the National Guard was being denied, and I don't think it was because of Trump. That was
You
because
have
of
to.
Pelosi.
So, but obviously for the cause that we both believe in, obviously you could just tell by our commentary today. I don't think it helped. I don't think it put a good light onto
That
us.
they denied the National Guard.
No, I'm just saying overall. Like,
I just-
what happened? I'm not saying it was endorsed by any or by Trump. I'm just saying.
Whose order was it to deny the National Guard?
But I'm just saying overall. Listen,
No, I'm asking sincerely.
They say, but I don't know the for sure answer on this, but I'll say this: from what most credible people say, it was Nancy Pelosi that was denying the National Guard.
There was a video of evidence, I'm pretty sure, of seeing.
Oh yeah, it was her in a car saying, well,
yeah.
why should we bring the National Guard? They caught her on...
that was a few weeks ago that came out, right?
Yep.
I honestly don't know what her job title is.
She was Speaker of the House.
Welcome back to the CNN presidential debate
Drew.
live from Georgia. Let's talk about persistent challenges you
I'm
both
moving.
faced
I gotta go to
in
the
your
bathroom.
first terms, and you'd certainly
too.
face again in a second term. President Biden,
Maybe.
while black
Yeah, go ahead.
unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans.
Sorry, David. You were like, I'm sorry, brother.
That you haven't made more progress.
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate races that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly
Too
difficult.
much for you?
When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure we provide that child care protections. Because more people can be in
What a mess.
the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a
Alright,
great
guys,
deal so
it's back
far.
on.
Yeah. What did I miss? Seriously.
I don't know.
What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time homebuyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided to had to take out student
10,000.
loans.
It was the tax.
and to
He's
buy-
trying to mimic what Obama did back in
and
07 when the
guarantees
economy took a
that
crap.
Yeah.
But
he's just using that for African Americans.
If they paid their bills for 10 years.
In my opinion, that's just the way to pander to
All
them.
the rest should be given out
Yeah,
for 10
basically.
years.
He's trying to buy
Benefits
respect.
from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more.
10,000 is not going to buy a house.
Thank you,
This
President Trump.
hell no.
He caused
The down
inflation.
payment, but
He's
not.
blaming
Maybe your
inflation.
closing costs. Like that's about it.
He caused the inflation, and it's
He
killing
did.
black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled, and tripled, and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone.
Yeah.
He destroyed it with
I don't
this
agree with that
Green New
fully.
Scam and all this
Who?
money that's being thrown out.
He said he gave him an economy that was
caused
running
inflation.
perfectly
As
and
sure as you're sitting
running
there,
good, but it
the
wasn't.
fact is that
It was cool.
his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 50% unemployment.
Because of COVID.
That's where he decimated the economy. That's why there was
No, he didn't.
at the time. There were no jobs.
Because of COVID.
Thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who were in involved communities, including minority communities. We made sure.
David, was
that
COVID
we have
affecting your job at all?
The ACA has included making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And inflation, he
You learning
caused
anything?
it by his tremendous amount
Yeah.
of physics and the way he
Yeah.
handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea
The
levels.
projector's pretty nice, isn't it?
Former President Trump
Oh, yeah, it is.
vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back
Hoax.
to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him.
Davey, need a beer?
Almost every
I got
police
it.
group in the
Need a
nation
beer?
from
Yeah,
every
I'm
state
good right now.
is supporting
Need more?
Donald J. Trump.
Eventually.
Almost every
Especially
police
after this.
group.
Taco beer.
And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't
Super
forget
Chris.
that.
Oh, let's
Super
not talk-
predators
yeah.
was his name. And he called it to them.
The light.
And they've taken great
Light.
offense at it. And now they
Red
see
light.
it happening.
Oh, yeah, good.
But when they see
What are you
what I
saying?
did for criminal justice reform
Give me a sec.
and for the
I'm
historically
sorry.
No, you're good.
black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded,
Yeah.
and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator.
When's he
from
going to announce
South
the
Carolina.
VP?
He came to me with
That I
an
don't know.
idea.
I'm
It was a
interested.
great
Come on, to
idea.
Scott right
One of the
now.
most
Hopefully at the
successful economic development acts ever in the country.
Think they'll ask that
Opportunity
question?
zones. And
Oh.
the biggest
Think they'll ask that
beneficiary
question?
are blacks.
Maybe.
And that's
Maybe.
why
Or they'll let them announce
we
it.
have
Yeah,
the
it's
best
all done.
numbers.
Can he pick someone else besides Kamala?
Maybe ever. They're saying ever.
Who,
Rick
Biden?
is
Yeah.
getting where
No,
ever the
they're
best
set in
numbers.
stone right now.
He's
They're not
lost.
gonna.
But can he have the option to do
He
it?
could, but it would cause a lot of
Because he's
backlash.
done a
I'm sure
it would be
horrible
a
job.
Well,
disaster.
he ran on that.
Hispanics. But when you see these millions of people pouring into our country
Kamala
and they're
did
going to
more
take the
part of
jobs,
those black
and it's
ladies than
already
anything.
started,
What was the
and you
initial
haven't
question?
seen
Hey,
anything yet.
she didn't
Yeah.
hail. No, she inhaled.
President Trump, will you take
That was
any
Bill
action
Oscar.
as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want
Really? Has that
absolutely
been recorded?
immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely
Like last
clean
week, I
air,
think that-
and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms.
This is what I was talking about with
And
Dave,
yet,
though, is
during my 4
they tend to
years,
always
I
run
had
on.
the best
So I
environmental
feel like the
numbers
left tends to run more on stuff
and
that
my
doesn't
top
has
environmental
no
people gave me
goal
that
line.
statistic just
There's
before I walked on
because
the stage,
it's always the answer is
It's
give us
always a
more
slippery slope.
power.
I
And
don't
it's
know
going
where
to
the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. In history, we find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $50 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have
One of your
they don't
advisors,
have
they
the
didn't
kind
come
of
up with it.
contributors that they have
Hold
to
it.
build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. He doesn't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing in the environment. He, the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord, I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And
He's catching
I
flies.
ended it because I didn't
You see
want to
someone in
waste
the
that
background?
money because it treated us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it, and it was a disaster.
It's just it's like a puppet
Everything
mind.
that he said
Yeah.
just now. I'll give you an example. I
Surprised
never
the
said
fucking
before
interpreter
insulin.
back there.
I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in,
Yep.
they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Yeah, it's all going to the illegal migrants.
I officially hate Joe.
The idea is that
Why?
we, in fact,
Just now?
we
This
were
is what-
the only
Why?
ones with
Where was the line?
consequence. We're not. We're not
Social
members
Security.
of the Paris Accord.
Pay for it now, and then we're gonna get it
The
back.
United States can't get us
There you
under
go,
control.
you're on the right
We're one of
track.
the largest polluters in the world. Number one, we're making significant progress.
Stop
By
picking your nose.
2035, we will have
Largest
most of
polluter in the
that.
world, that's a
We have
lie.
made
China
we've made
is, and
significant
India.
Progress.
They
We're
both
going
are.
to continue to make progress.
Way worse than we
set
are.
up a climate corps for thousands of young people.
Wasn't
that
it
learn how to
Rand
deal
Paul
with
or was
just
it
like Peace Corps. and we're going to.
What's his name? Jim Johnson that was just talking about the actual missions that. No, it wasn't either two of them. It was someone else, but they were just talking about the actual missions that America gives off compared to the rest of the world, and the ozone layer. Or was it the ozone layer? The amount of something in the atmosphere. It was like they were putting it towards Congress or the Senate.
You mentioned about the ozone layer. During COVID, when everyone was locked in their homes, the ozone layer prepared itself from years of damage.
Every company in the world, every
It's
pharmaceutical
interesting why they keep that in mind.
Yeah. And by the way,
Maybe we should do that every year.
Just lock everyone in their house.
Just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security,
Social Security,
seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now,
Including
everybody.
Yeah, what about you, buddy?
$170,000 pays 6%
Hello, Nancy.
of their income with a paycheck. Every single time they get a paycheck, at the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%.
So you.
So no one after, I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000.
This is the exact same question that Trump schooled Hillary on, is because he literally said, yes, of course I took advantage of it, because you guys allowed it to happen.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent?
Can't even process it.
Well, he's 81, right?
The biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And they see,
my family chat blowing up right now about the debate.
400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only allows them to have that.
I got a bunch of texts right now, too. Especially for people that aren't in politics that are watching today. I'm so happy about that.
We'll talk about it at the end.
We're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants, another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year can be able to get $15,000 towards the tuition. Really? I just don't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. And everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing.
New York's
to
giving
the
illegal
VA,
immigrants
to our veterans is
$10,000.
unbelievable. Our veterans are living on the street. These people
It's
are
for the
living in
initial.
luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden.
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates you talked about.
Jordan's mad at your car.
Those 15 Nobel laureates.
Jordan's mad about your car. She said that she just wants to know how to put the seat back. Because your little legs. But those big calves.
The worst president in the history of the United States of America.
Did she figure it out?
President
No,
Biden,
that's
No,
you,
she's
Joe.
I just texted her. I was like, thank you again for getting more beer. And she's like, I just want to know how to put Drew's seat back. It's driving me nuts.
have tried to address this issue.
Oh, is it? I just said it was a square lever. It's like the passenger seat was what I was thinking.
By the way, he just called Trump the worst
The cost
president of
of
the United
child care
States.
for 2 children is
Who did?
more than their
Joe
rent. In your
I don't
second
think it was
term,
Trump.
what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just go back.
Zero.
The general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him.
What was this
The other
for?
thing is,
They're going
He's a
back
fire
to
people. he never fired
Trump
people.
supposedly
I've never
saying
seen him
that
fire
the
anybody.
soldiers
I
are
did fire a lot.
suckers and
I fired
losers,
Comey
which
because
again
he was
has
no
been
good. I fired a lot of
debunked.
the
It's a
top
lie.
people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy
Sorry,
to fire
look at the
people.
light.
You pay a price for it, but
You
they
know
were
what?
no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire
Why do you feel
anybody?
differently, Chris?
Did you fire anybody
Because the
that's
orders
on the
came from
border
Biden.
that's allowed us to have the worst border
And
in the
his
history of the world?
administration.
Did anybody get fired for
I don't
allowing
agree with that.
18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing.
That's
a
because
nothing deal.
November's
And he
coming up.
reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's
He's
insignificant.
pandering. That's all. This
He
is
wants
what the
open
left does.
borders. He wants
They
our
pander
country
during
to
the
either
election
be
year, then
destroyed, or he wants to
That's what they do.
those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance,
Oh, it's
of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a
The 3
country
generals that
left
were involved
anymore.
in
That's how
the
bad it is.
Afghan
He's the worst
troop
in history
withdrawal
by
was
far.
Millie,
Thank you, President
McKenzie,
Biden.
and
the most admired
Austin Miller,
country in the
Scott
world.
Miller.
We
Joe
did it
Austin.
Millie has a
States
lot of
America.
baggage with.
I know
him.
Millie. And Millie is a very well-known
They're
name
the
at the
finest
generals.
military in the
Like
history of the
Swiss
world.
Trump.
The finest in the history of the world.
He kept secrets.
No
from
one
Trump,
thinks
but
we're
we'll talk more about that.
No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea
no one wants to
that
screw
we're
around
talking
with
about
us.
worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online.
No one wants to screw around with us, but
159
yet we have a
58
Russian
to one
blockade down in
exact
Cuba
number.
right now.
Presidential historians, they've had
Not
meetings
blockades,
and they voted
ships.
who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not a
No,
that's
it's
not
not.
conjecture.
That's you and
You can
Carter.
argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with
Co-partner,
child
buddy.
care, he did for virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men, of single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have
Thank you, President
child care
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the 2 of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I grow up and I see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I never raised a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we reported.
We're doing it
Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class has been devastated by you. Now you want a new
Wrong. It's been devastated by you.
the next 10 years,
Everyone look over here.
which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one.
What up, though?
Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any
Drew, go this way.
progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy.
35
We
trillion.
have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate.
China,
he
it's
gets
about
money from China.
7.2 trillion.
So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But you notice he never took out my
trade
tariffs
deficit.
because we bring in so much
Okay.
money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come. But he hasn't done that.
Well, those beginning
But he
rock
hasn't
for
cut the
decades.
tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They
Buying
are
our
killing
farmland.
us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot. And we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about
I don't know what
gotaways.
we estimated earlier.
But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and byproducts fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we used the machinery that can detect
back that
fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it cost a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues.
You
and
see how
said, "Don't do it.
dilated his eyes
It's going to
are,
hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good
He's saying
bill.
he's drugged up.
It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those
I
machines.
I
They're
don't
coming down
I
very
don't go
hard
too much into that though
in
because
Asia in terms of
that could be
precursors
anecdotal.
of Fentanyl.
What do you mean?
And Mexico is
Anecdotal,
working with us to make sure
based
they
on
have the
emotion,
technology
your
to put it
opinion.
They
together.
can get dilated like
That's
that?
what we
No,
have to do.
I'm
We
saying,
need
like,
those machines.
We don't know for
Thank you,
sure. So
President
I'm
Biden.
not
President
making
Trump,
I'm not
the
making
question is
a
about
for sure
Americans
assumption.
Oh, okay, yeah.
right now struggling to get the treatment they need.
I'm just going off
This-
like,
this
I
is
get
desperate.
the conspiracies.
Yeah.
yeah, I
He
get you.
ended remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the
Listen,
toughest
folks.
job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think.
Did you say competent or
Less
Yeah.
competent than him. Yeah, okay.
300,000 manufacturing jobs.
I want to hear
More
Trump's
investment in
response.
America.
And I'm a millionaire.
Billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost.
Was that open up in the
Consumer
Ohio yet?
people.
The,
It should be by,
Jobs
they
overseas.
said late 2025, early 2026
So I
for the
went,
intel.
I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars
That's
here in the United
Columbus,
States.
right?
And then,
Yes. Yep.
guess what?
It'll be the
Those
biggest
fabs, they
intel.
call them,
Why isn't Taiwan brought up right now at all?
Those fabs pay over $100,000.
I don't
You
know.
don't need a
I'm waiting
college
for
degree
it.
for it.
Well, let's see
And
what Trump
there's
says.
Billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being
I think
built
they
right
might be
now
wrapping it
in
up
the
with
United
You
this.
States,
think
creating
so?
significant jobs for
Taiwan's
Americans
the biggest
all over
chip
from all
distributor
over
in the world.
President
Oh,
Biden, you
I
have
thought you meant the
40
debate's
seconds
wrapping
left.
up. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the
Because he's
only
telling the
one-
truth.
Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America.
That could be a campaign
All our
ad right
problems
there.
and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive
Yeah,
country in the
that's
world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies
Full of shit.
and our those who he calls up to, from Kim Jong Un, we sent love letters to, Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you
Former
will be
President
82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. I just made it public. He took
Why
none.
do
I'd like
that?
to
He
see him take
refused to
one,
take
just
one,
one,
Joe.
a real easy one.
Take
Like go through the first 5
cognitive test.
questions.
Or a drug test.
But I took 2 cognitive
how's
tests.
the
I
headphones
took
working for you,
physical exams every year, and we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way.
David, you want to talk
He
golf?
doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
How's your
He
golf
challenged me
game?
to a golf match.
It's,
He can't hit a ball 50
A1.
yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that
Are you
I'm
trumping
as
over everyone
good
else?
shape as I was
No,
25,
don't
30 years
really
ago.
kick
Actually,
my
I'm
ass.
probably a little bit later.
What about Biden?
But I'm
Think you'd be
in
Biden?
as good a shape
Golf?
as I was. I feel like I was willing to take the cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson.
Yeah, with the
who's
club,
a great
the
guy,
driver.
he was White
No, I
House
like
staff.
my-
And then I took another one, a
Yeah.
similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 225 pounds, or 235 pounds.
6'5".
Well, you said 6'4", 200.
So why
Well,
does
I
this
think-
matter to the American people
Just
that
take a
are
look
trying
at
to
what he
vote for one
says
of
he
you?
is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. Kareem, I got my
Do it. Do it.
Vice
Do it.
down to 6. And
That'd be so funny,
I
honestly.
told you before,
That'd actually be really
football,
funny.
you can carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
Hey, Joe, how does this matter to
It's the 6 handicap of all.
I was at 8 handicap. 8.
They put they put his microphone on for a second. That's pretty
Let's see
crazy.
you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
Let's not act
That's
like
why
children.
golf is a great sport.
You are
a
a child.
specific concern.
You are
together.
Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept
Here
the
we go.
results of this
Here we
election,
go. Knew this was
regardless of
coming.
who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear.
Really?
But the answer is,
Yeah, they're holding the door
the
for him.
election
Yeah.
is
There's
fair.
video proof of
Yeah.
it.
I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something.
Fact
I
check.
wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him.
Yep.
His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane.
joke.
These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III. And we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III. And he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't
Well,
treat
I'm sure
this
Putin
with
loves
a
hearing
job
you say
like
that, Joe.
what they've done.
I'm sure he loves hearing it.
Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful peace. Because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because of our own safety is at stake. And again, we want to have a war. Just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
You already answered that.
Just to finish what he said, if I
You
might.
see?
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever, with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia. Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but
Trying to corner
the
him,
fraud
Yep.
and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first
You
time,
gonna do another ballot dump at 2:30 in the morning, Joe?
Appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit. state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And
Explain why the courts wouldn't take up the cases then. The courts were refusing. The courts were refusing the cases. They wouldn't even fucking listen to them.
Well, it's not only that. Like they say stuff like that, but like everything that happened with CNN today, everything else.
Honestly, I gotta say this: CNN is doing honestly a very good job.
What I'm saying, well, I only think that they're appearing good because Trump is playing against their game.
Yeah,
you agree?
Go on. Sorry.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think Trump they can't push against him because the way he's playing their game against them.
He's playing this very.
So I think CNN looks really good right now because Trump is beating him at that. If they overextended themselves, they're gonna look terrible.
No,
you're right. No,
it's like a game of like cat and mouse. Or seeing what he's doing. It's consistent.
Yeah.
David, what do you think?
You can't wait to go home.
Yeah, I am getting a little tired. Yeah.
Got any final comments?
I'm just trying to think here.
I literally told you what was going to happen tonight before you came over. So I just want you to know.
I know.
Well, it doesn't
I was
need to
ready
be
for it.
You ready for it?
I was ready for it.
I can tell.
I was just wondering how Biden won the first time.
Are you questioning how he won now?
Well, no, I kind of wonder how the first debate went.
You
can look back at it.
We can watch it. Not tonight, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Are you talking about the first debate, like back in 2020?
Maybe when Trump was still president.
It was coming up to the 2020 election.
Right, but that year, obviously, a lot happened, and the Democrats took advantage of that and used it against Trump, and it worked very well in favor for the Democrats, especially with the riots and COVID and all the craziness happening that year. It was just insane.
Well, I don't know. Definitely interested in what's going to happen next now.
Take advantage of
People are going to walk over to you if you're too nice, but Trump's like, he puts the work in it before he actually just gives something away.
Top left button.
I feel kind of.
Top left button. Okay.
Drew, what are your thoughts
about what we've just seen?
Yeah, like your general opinion of this whole debate so far.
I think Joe doesn't know how to respond other than just shaking his head
and making backhanded comments against Trump.
Yeah.
Has Joe said anything
worth substance?
Yeah, worth substance to the American people that don't aren't involved in like Dave here.
Maybe 5 to 10%, but that's spitballing.
Yeah, I would agree. So what would you tell like someone that doesn't know politics? So mine's Dave right here, but like just like anyone you like know that isn't into politics.
Pay attention to body language and the confidence of the debate itself and the validity of the questions.
Right.
How they handle themselves and the questions.
President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure
they might be doing closing stuff.
System. I ask anyone out there,
they went over.
or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is, I say, nobody would make it under $400,000 has a single penny increasing their taxes.
Look at your paycheck, you tell me.
But this guy has increased their taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, for example, he wants to get rid of the
you need another Boston party?
If this guy wins again, we might need another 1776. Who knows?
Us to be able to negotiate.
Civil War. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Well, guess what?
For a while, I thought we were on the verge of it, but I don't think so anymore.
$35.
It all depends on what happens.
Well, I think it's all thanks to Biden. I think everyone realizes how. I think America is more. They're seeing the lies and the agenda that's being pushed.
I'm telling you right now, I don't even care what the hell he's saying right now. If the same thing happens again like in 2020, where Trump is winning all the way up to 12 o'clock, and then you stop the counts and extend the counts for days, weeks, and some states months,
and
You're
everybody
going to
in
see
America
something happen.
wants to get
They're not
rid
going
of
to put
that.
up with it again.
I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. We're going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to
You had 4 years to do it. You passed an infrastructure bill. Where's all that?
President Biden and President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing.
David, use your microphone.
Yeah, that's
Like
right.
so many
You ever
politicians,
heard
this man
about
is
those
just a
years?
complainer.
Yeah,
He said,
what
we
about
want to
Closer.
do this, we want to do that, we want
Closer.
to get rid of this tax, that tax.
ancient?
Yeah.
But he doesn't do
What do
anything.
you mean?
He doesn't
Lead
do, all he
pipes.
does is
We
make
got
our
Home
country
Depot, they don't
unsafe
copy
by
it.
allowing Indians and immigrants to come to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah. For terror,
Joe
no
gave him
money
the $6 billion
whatsoever.
worth of frozen
Again,
assets.
Ukraine
happened
should have
last
never
year.
happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place.
Yep.
You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves. And they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former
Every
President
time
Trump.
Biden goes against
President
MAGA,
Biden,
he always talks about the MAGA.
Stay with
Yeah.
us because
MAGA literally
he's
alienating
what-
78 million people.
What I'm saying is
And
MAGA
Mr.
literally
Cooper,
means
Aaron Burnett,
make America
folks,
great again.
now
Exactly.
On CNN.
I've had that debate with a couple of people too. It's like, you don't want to make America great? You're a cult.
What's going on right now?
I think they're taking a break.
I thought it was something with Biden pooping.
Well, it looks like
Then he's got to go take his pills.
Do you even know the name of the podcast?
I do have to say though, you guys are awesome.